Emily answered the video call, surprised and delighted.
Emily, was that your best friend you had lunch with today?
From the moment Emily met James during their freshman year, she was smitten. After much effort, they finally became friends, although their encounters were few and far between. She never expected that her best friend's visit would lead to this. Her friend came over for lunch, and James happened to see them, prompting him to contact her.
Yes, she came to visit me. I showed her around our campus. Isn't she beautiful?
His cool voice was as familiar as ever, but the intense look in his eyes made Emily feel uneasy.
Why should your best friend eat at the cafeteria when she's come all this way? Let's go out for lunch tomorrow. My treat.
Emily had never seen such a look from him before. For someone as aloof as him to invite a girl to lunch was unheard of.
Well, I'll have to ask if she's okay with it.
For some reason, Emily decided to play coy, knowing James hated this kind of behavior.
Emily, she's your best friend. I'm sure you can convince her. Please, do me this favor.
To her surprise, he wasn't annoyed at all. Instead, he earnestly requested it, almost as if he expected it. Emily didn't know how she managed to keep smiling and joking with him, just like every other time. After hanging up, Emily saw her best friend, Sophia, returning from the restroom. Sophia had been a renowned beauty since middle school and was quite the charmer, although only Emily knew that side of her. Emily hesitated.
I saw you on a video call just now, she said, casually picking up Emily's phone before she could stop her.
Sophia always did this, but as her best friend, Emily couldn't really say anything. A photo caught Sophia's eye, a picture of James reading a book, taken secretly. He seemed to notice, glancing down with a hint of fondness in his eyes.
Emily, you have such a handsome guy around you and didn't share him with your best friend?
A pang of sadness hit Emily. She had been secretly in love with James for years, never daring to cross the line for fear of losing even their friendship. Seeing the look in Sophia's eyes, how could Emily not know her intentions?
He's the heartthrob of our school. You're not planning to go after him, are you? She asked, feeling a bit panicked at the thought of Sophia setting her sights on him.
Emily, I'm serious this time. Introduce us, please.
With her words, what else could Emily do? They were clearly interested in each other, and the lunch date the next day went smoothly. The ice-cold facade melted, and all his smiles were for Sophia. They made a striking couple, exchanging glances that spoke volumes. It was fine, Emily told herself. She never had a chance anyway. Sophia was her best friend, and if she could settle down, wasn't that a good thing? If they were together, she wouldn't lose either of them. Besides, she had set this up herself. It was better than an unknown rival appearing out of nowhere. But Emily never expected their relationship to progress so quickly. The next day, even though Sophia was supposed to have left, Emily saw two familiar figures kissing under a tree near the dormitory. Her heart felt like it was being torn apart. James's eyes were half closed, filled with desire and intoxication. Suddenly, his gaze locked onto hers, as if seeing through all her thoughts. Emily panicked, wanting to hide, but he nonchalantly looked away, deepening the kiss with a firm hand on the back of Sophia's head. Emily felt a wave of indescribable shame, her whole body burning. How hypocritical of her. She liked him, yet she helped him get together with her best friend. She knew this would happen, but now she was acting like this. Overwhelmed by shame, Emily wanted to run, but she just stood there, watching them kiss until they finally stopped. Sophia noticed her, her cheeks flushed with a beautiful blush. James, for once, gave Emily a rare smile.
Emily, you should have introduced your best friend to me sooner.
The air conditioning in the ice cream shop dispelled the summer heat. The vanilla ice cream in Emily's hand was her favorite, yet she hesitated to take a bite. Across from her sat James and Sophia. The question lingered in her mind, why was she here when it was clearly their date? Was she here to torment herself?
Cheerful, my best friend, James is just perfect for me. Don't worry, even if we're on a date, I won't leave you behind.
Sophia's words echoed in Emily's ears when she invited her. For some reason, Emily still came. Maybe she just wanted to see if Sophia had truly settled down, so she could sincerely wish her best friend happiness. That's what she told herself. When it comes to choosing between the person she likes and her best friend, of course, she chooses her best friend. James never looked at her once. Suddenly, Emily understood. He was doing it on purpose. He always knew she liked him. He was telling her that he liked Sophia and that she had no chance. He was making it clear that he had found the one he loved. It was time for her to step aside.
Curious, Emily, why are you staring at James? Do you like him?
Sophia's sudden question snapped Emily back to reality. At that moment, she felt James's cold, warning gaze.
Laughing nervously, ha ha ha, how could that be? How could I and my best friend like the same guy?
She joked, thankful that Sophia's question was just in jest. She broke out in a cold sweat. Watching her best friend and the person she liked being sweet together made her stomach churn, and she couldn't eat a thing.
Concerned, Emily, are you feeling unwell?
Sophia seemed to notice something, her eyes filled with concern and confusion. A wave of guilt washed over Emily. How could she know that the friend she was protecting had always coveted her boyfriend?
Forcing a smile, it's nothing. Maybe I had too much cold stuff. I'll go to the restroom.
Emily was afraid that if she stayed any longer, Sophia would sense something was wrong. James had already realized she liked him. If Sophia found out too, she would lose both friends.
Following, Emily, I need to talk to you.
Unexpectedly, Sophia followed her in. Emily quickly put on a smile, making sure she wouldn't notice anything amiss.
Pitifully, Emily, you like James too, don't you?
Sophia looked at her pitifully, her words hitting Emily like a bolt of lightning. She had found out?
Glistening eyes, I'm sorry, Emily. I was trying to create an opportunity for you and James that day, but I realized I liked him too. Pleading, we're best friends. You wouldn't blame me, right? Besides, you didn't really like him that much. You never even told him, so could you let me have James?
What did she mean? Emily looked at her in shock. She had known all along?
Heartbroken, no, I chose you. Between the man I liked and my best friend, I chose you. And my best friend chose the man. My previous guilt was just my own wishful thinking. My best friend, knowing I liked James, still got together with him. Shouting, how could you do this to me?
The double blow of heartbreak and betrayal made Emily shout. She never thought something out of a novel would happen to her. Sophia looked startled, then tears welled up in her eyes.
Crying, I'm sorry. I didn't think you'd react this way. You never intended to let me know you liked him, did you? I really misjudged you. Fine, I'll break up with James, but I don't want a friend like you anymore.
She turned and ran out. Emily's mind was in chaos. Emily followed James out, her heart a mix of anxiety and hope. As she approached the seats, she saw James shielding a tearful Sophia.
Emily, I never thought you could be such a self-centered and spiteful woman.
His frown and the disgust in his eyes pierced Emily's heart deeply.
I only love Sophia. Even if we break up, I will get back together with her. I will never be with you. Give up on this idea.
A woman like you doesn't deserve to be my best friend.
Instantly, all the strange looks from the people around fell on Emily.
You don't know anything.
Don't know? Are you saying you don't like me?
His voice held a hint of contempt. Emily couldn't refute him at all. The disdain in the eyes of the people around her grew stronger.
I can't stand this anymore.
In her panic, she turned around and bumped into a store clerk. A cold drink spilled all over her.
Hiss.
She quickly covered her chest with her bag. A pair of unfamiliar eyes looked at her. The small bag couldn't cover her soaked shirt. Mumbling apologies to the server, she just wanted to flee. Everything felt blurry and distant. Just then, a light jacket, carrying an unmatched warmth, fell on her, wrapping her tightly.
Fancy meeting you here, senior.
A voice, gentle yet assertive, pulled her out of her strange state. She was directly embraced by a strong arm. Turning her head, she saw a handsome face with a golden retriever-like smile and cute tiger teeth.
Thank you.
She couldn't care about anything else. She only knew he helped shield her from those suffocating gazes. Half embraced, he led her out of the cold drink shop and escorted her to the girls' dormitory.
Thank you for today. You look somewhat familiar.
You're welcome, senior. Even though it's summer, you might catch a chill. You should go back quickly.
Emily nodded, glancing awkwardly at the jacket. There was no way she could take it off now. Even if she did, the jacket was already dirty. She couldn't return it like this.
Oh, I almost forgot. I'm Ethan from the finance department, freshman class 3. I can come to get the jacket tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning might be too soon, it might not be dry.
No need to wash it, senior. Just give it to me directly tomorrow.
Before she could say anything, he gently pushed her shoulder, ushering her into the dormitory, and then walked away. She watched him wave at her from under a tree not far away, flashing a bright smile. For some reason, the room buzzed with energy as Emily's roommate burst in with the latest gossip.
Breaking news! Our ice-cold idol has a partner now.
Emily paused briefly, then continued hanging up her freshly washed jacket, hoping it would dry by tomorrow.
Emily, how could you not tell us such big news?
Emily stiffened slightly. Yes, James was always cold and distant to others, but she had somehow managed to become his only close friend. Many people, including her roommates, thought there was something more between them. She didn't mind the misunderstanding. In fact, she enjoyed it. The main thing was, James never clarified the situation. Sometimes, she couldn't help but wonder if he felt the same way.
Why are you looking at me? His girlfriend isn't me.
The room fell silent instantly. At that moment, Emily realized how obvious her feelings for him were. She should have known earlier that James was aware of her feelings. But that was all in the past now. She felt an unprecedented sense of calm.
All right, I've always said we're just friends. Why are you all acting like this?
It was as if a weight had been lifted, and the room buzzed with activity again. But Emily could sense her roommates being cautious, avoiding the topic of James. The next morning, Emily woke up a bit late. She had an early class, and Ethan's jacket was still damp, which added to her frustration. Seeing a message from James pushed her irritation to its peak.
Did you post the photos on the forum? Many people think the person in the photos is you. Please clarify.
Emily couldn't help but laugh in exasperation. Every time people teased them, she would wave it off, saying there was nothing between them. He would always look at her with that calm, composed gaze. She never really wanted to clarify, so she didn't bother. And now, he wanted her to explain. Just then, a familiar voice called out.
Emily.
Emily was slightly taken aback. She had forgotten to tell him she had an early class today. How did he come so early?
Emily, you're running late, but it's okay. I brought you breakfast. We can still make it to class on time.
He handed her 2 steaming bags.
Half sweet soy milk and 2 churros.
Emily's favorites. A bold idea suddenly popped into her head. James wanted her to clarify. What could be a clearer explanation than having a boyfriend? She looked at Ethan standing in front of her.
Ethan, would you like to be my boyfriend?
Ethan's eyes widened in surprise, but then he broke into a warm smile.
Of course, Emily. I'd be honored.
Emily abruptly dismissed this absurd idea from her mind. Ethan had taken her away in such an awkward situation yesterday, and now she wanted to get involved with him? That would be ungrateful.
Thank you so much. You helped me yesterday, and I haven't even thanked you properly. How could I accept your breakfast?
She declined with a smile.
By the way, your jacket isn't dry yet. I'll bring it to you this afternoon.
The boy in front of her smiled, his eyes curving into crescents. This bright feeling seemed to infect her directly, lifting her spirits.
Given the situation yesterday, it was the right thing to do. Consider today's breakfast as a thank you for washing my jacket,
he said, pushing the breakfast into her hands without giving her a chance to refuse. He then gestured to another breakfast.
How about we have breakfast together?
For some reason, Emily ended up having lunch with Ethan as well. Maybe it was for the convenience of picking up the jacket later. But she had to admit, spending the morning with Ethan made her feel unusually cheerful. They chatted and laughed as they walked towards the dormitory. When they reached the dormitory building, Ethan suddenly spoke.
Are you heartbroken?
Emily was stunned. Was it that obvious? She immediately forced a smile.
Not exactly heartbroken.
She didn't even get a chance to confess before he was taken away. How could that be considered heartbreak? Moreover, she was warned and demanded an explanation. She suddenly felt downcast.
Can we give it a try?
His words struck her like a bolt from the blue. This was too sudden. No one had ever said such a thing to her before. Maybe it was because she was always around her crush, not giving other guys a chance to approach. Opposite her, Ethan's face was relaxed and cheerful, which surprisingly eased her pressure and gradually calmed her down.
We just met. Isn't this a bit sudden? Having just experienced a double blow of love and friendship, I can't trust this sudden kindness.
Come on. Let's just try. What if I can make you happy and forget your troubles? Even if I fail, you can just kick me out.
He said it so casually. After thinking it over, Emily realized he had a point. But did he consider himself? Something felt off. She scrutinized his face, which gradually overlapped with a vague image in her mind. When had she seen him before? He seemed familiar, but she couldn't recall. Out of nowhere, James's text message popped into her mind.
All right, let's give it a try.
Ethan immediately beamed, his eyes shining brightly, looking at her as if he had found a rare treasure.
Don't worry, I won't let you down.
His excitement seemed to affect her as well. Her heart pounded strongly, reviving the feelings that had withered over the past 3 years due to unrequited love. Back in the dormitory, clutching her chest, Emily suddenly realized something.
How silly of me. We're already a couple, and I didn't even get his contact information.
She shook her head helplessly. The next moment, her phone rang. A message from an unfamiliar avatar popped up.
Good afternoon, dear girlfriend. Finally, I can message you. Confetti, confetti, confetti.
Emily was stunned. So she already had his contact?
I have classes this afternoon. I'll pick you up after class, and we can go out for dinner. Excited, excited, excited.
Okay.
Yay, wait for me.
She couldn't help but smile. Looking at the long note, she decided to edit it. A call request popped up. It was Sophia. Emily was slightly taken aback. After coming back yesterday, she had taken a shower, changed clothes, and gone to bed early. She had completely forgotten to delete Sophia and James from her contacts. But now that Sophia was calling, could it be that she regretted it? Years of friendship made Emily soften and she pressed the answer button.
Emily, why are you doing this to me?
As soon as the call connected, Sophia's tearful voice came through the phone. Emily remained silent.
I know you're jealous that James chose me, but there's nothing we can do about it. Even if I break up with him, he won't be with you. Wouldn't it be better if I stayed with him and we remained best friends? Why do you have to make it seem like James's girlfriend is you?
I didn't.
After a long pause, Emily spoke, feeling a bit helpless and annoyed.
Are you still denying it? I really misjudged you, Emily. That's it. I don't want to have any contact with you anymore.
With that, she hung up the phone. Suddenly, Emily realized she might be unwell. Not just unwell, but blind too. After blocking two troublesome individuals, the air felt much fresher. It had been a long time since I dressed up so meticulously, entirely in my own style, not the one James preferred.
Thinking, my roommates looked at me, wanting to say something but holding back. Of course, I knew what they were thinking.
Emma deliberately said nothing. Until she was about to leave, she tossed out a line.
I'm going on a date.
She left happily. At the dorm entrance, Ethan was already waiting. It was clear he had dressed up seriously too. What surprised her the most was the large bouquet he held. The blue roses were so enchanting that they instantly captured her heart.
Enthusiastic, senior, I was in a rush at noon today, so this is to make it up to you.
His voice was loud and enthusiastic, drawing the attention of many passers-by. Emma couldn't help but laugh. She accepted the bouquet gracefully, along with the gazes from others.
Thinking, let them see. I want the news that I have a boyfriend to spread. I no longer want any entanglements with them. Now, I just want to live my own life well.
Amazed, senior, you look beautiful today.
Walking down the street, the amazement in Ethan's eyes made it impossible to doubt his sincerity. This suddenly made Emma think.
Thinking, perhaps my appearance wasn't as stunning as Sophia's. Before university, I always thought I was just ordinary compared to her. But now, in a different university without Sophia's overshadowing beauty, my own charm began to shine.
She had heard before that they had voted her as one of the top 10 beauties, but she had always laughed it off. Now, she suddenly realized that she wasn't inferior to Sophia. The evening date was very pleasant. If James was the aloof type, then Ethan was the adorable one.
Thinking, especially when he calls me sister so sweetly, it makes my heart flutter. Though younger, he doesn't act immature at all.
He would pull out chairs for her, patiently ask what she wanted to eat, and thoughtfully prepare tissues. Even his movie choices were just right. He was just a bit shy. He didn't even dare to hold her hand. Back at school, Emma felt a bit mischievous. She subtly brushed against his hand.
Thinking, sure enough, I noticed his ears turning red. The little person inside me was laughing and rolling around.
Finally, after many hints, the adorable boy got the message. He tentatively held her hand. Emma laughed, successfully seeing his ears turn completely red.
We've already hugged that day, and now you're still afraid to hold hands?
She referred to the day he helped her out of an awkward situation. His ears turned even redder, but he seemed worried about leaving a bad impression, so he hurriedly explained.
That day was different, it was an emergency.
Oh. How was it different?
They stopped in front of the dorm building. He stammered, unable to find the words. Emma smiled and leaned in to hug him. Unexpectedly, despite his slim appearance, he was quite well built under his clothes. She could feel the muscle lines in the embrace, in his tense state. His strong arms finally rested gently on her back. She knew it had to be taken slowly.
Softly, sister is starting to like you a bit.
Upon hearing this, the boy's eyes lit up.
Really?
Of course, but it depends on your future performance.
She smiled slightly and turned to go upstairs. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw a somewhat familiar figure. Encouraged by Emily, she and Ethan began dating more openly. Within a week, the entire school knew about their relationship. Emily had blocked out James and Sophia, enjoying Ethan's sincere attention. However, letting go of old feelings wasn't easy.
Sometimes, I reminisce about past memories. But I scold myself quickly. It's unfair to Ethan, but at least I was never with James.
One day, as Emily was putting on makeup, her roommate chattered beside her.
Really? Ethan is taking you to White Cloud Villa? That's one of the top resorts in our city. No, the entire province. Either Ethan is spending a lot on you, or his family is quite wealthy. He might be a hidden millionaire.
White Cloud Villa is really that famous?
Ethan had suggested a trip, and Emily agreed. Realizing the resort's reputation, she reconsidered and texted Ethan.
Actually, biking to Saddle Mountain sounds great. A resort like that seems a bit too luxurious.
Ethan quickly replied.
For you, it's worth it.
Emily laughed, feeling pampered like never before. Her roommate's voice broke her thoughts.
Have you heard? James' family went bankrupt.
Emily listened intently, not out of worry, but surprise.
His dad broke the law and got disciplined. They lost their status, and his girlfriend dumped him. Now he's, well...
Emily felt a bit sad but reminded herself that James' troubles were no longer her concern. With thoughts of Ethan, she fell asleep. At the school gate, she waited for Ethan. Instead, James approached, looking disheveled. Remembering her roommate's words, Emily's relaxed expression tightened.
Emily.
Are you really dating Ethan? Yes.
I know I was harsh that day. You don't need to date someone just to spite me. Ethan is not simple. If he finds out you're just using him as a substitute, he won't let you off.
You need help, James. When I liked you, everything about you seemed great. Now that I don't, who do you think you are to judge me? Did you lose your girlfriend and now want to use me as a backup?
Even Emily was surprised by her words, feeling liberated. Just then, a sleek black car stopped in front of her.
Sis, sorry to keep you waiting.
Ethan, looking like a little wolf with his black sunglasses, made Emily's face flush. She immediately left James and got into the car.
Sis, you were so cool just now.
Of course, don't you see who has my back now?
Ethan blushed instantly, and Emily grinned mischievously, touching his ear.
It's been a month, how are you still so shy?
Ethan's eyes showed a hint of panic, but he didn't move. Emily laughed, feeling like an enchantress. Ethan pressed a button, and the car's convertible top opened. The breeze brushed against my face, and it felt incredibly refreshing.
Enjoying the breeze?
I was a bit surprised. Ethan seemed different today.
Your car.
Borrowed.
So that's how it was. I almost felt a bit of pressure.
The convertible lets you enjoy the breeze. You'll love it.
His smile felt like a breath of fresh air after a storm. I quickly nodded. When we arrived at White Cloud Villa, I finally understood just how famous it was. The entire estate, which they called a resort, looked more like a luxurious mansion to me. From the grand and imposing gates to the courteous staff, everything made me feel out of place. I couldn't help but feel a bit uneasy and instinctively moved closer to Ethan. At some point, my hand was firmly held, giving me a sense of strength.
Indeed, the quality of service in high-end places is top-notch.
Glad you noticed.
Actually, this outing wasn't just for Ethan and me. It was mainly a trip organized by the school's modeling club, and Ethan, being a photographer, had specially brought me along. By the time we arrived, most of the other members were already there. But I never expected to see James as well.
Sis, you must be tired from the journey. Go rest for a bit, I'll take care of dinner.
He said considerately, placing my luggage in the room before thoughtfully stepping out. In reality, the journey wasn't tiring at all. We had just driven to the outskirts, and with Ethan driving, it was very comfortable. After a quick freshen up, I walked towards the back garden. The barbecue for tonight was set up there. The barbecue equipment was already in place, and Ethan, standing tall at over 6 feet, was quite noticeable even among the tall models. I couldn't help but feel a bit smug about having such a tall and handsome boyfriend, but my smile froze when I saw a familiar figure. It was Sophia. My expression turned cold inch by inch. Why was she here? For some reason, memories started flooding back. I had never been interested in anyone before, but that didn't mean no boys had shown interest in me. Although none were as passionate as Ethan, I had experienced it. Before meeting James, I had no interest in romance. So, whenever I heard rumors about someone liking me, it was quickly followed by news that they actually liked my best friend. I never thought much about it, just took it for granted. Maybe they approached me because of Sophia, which seemed normal. But now, thinking back, was it really just that? What if Sophia saw someone pursuing me and then decided to attract those boys herself, taking them all away? Scenes of details I hadn't cared about before now played vividly in my mind. At first, the girls who surrounded Sophia because of her looks and pitiful demeanor gradually distanced themselves. Perhaps she always liked the boys who were interested in others. Now, her target was clearly my current boyfriend. I watched as she took a towel and moved to wipe Ethan's forehead. Anger surged within me. The next moment, Ethan deftly dodged and even used a large fan in his hand to swat her hand away with a smack. The towel fell to the ground. My anger instantly dissipated. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Looking at everyone else's reactions, James's gaze towards Sophia seemed somewhat complicated. Wasn't James supposed to have been dumped by Sophia? Why didn't he seem heartbroken at all? It was really strange. Didn't he fall for Sophia at first sight? The rare gentleness from the eternal Ice King, melting just for her. Now that they had broken up, how could he be so calm? Sophia's eyes flickered when she saw me. I had become brave enough to confront James, so dealing with a woman trying to steal my boyfriend was nothing. I wouldn't give an inch when it came to my little puppy. I took a few steps forward and unceremoniously brushed her arm away. Everyone looked at me in astonishment.
Sophia, I just realized you've always been shameless since we were kids. Can't you feel comfortable without taking someone else's man?
Sophia froze on the spot. She probably didn't expect me, who had always been gentle, to be so sharp.
What? You used to just take other people's men in advance, and now you're planning to dig up my boyfriend directly? Sophia, have some decency. Can't you see my boyfriend is avoiding you? With so many people around, Aren't you embarrassed? Because I am.
I didn't think about anything, I just blurted all this out in one breath. The way people looked at Sophia changed. I felt a wave of relief from the bottom of my heart. It turned out I had been holding this in for so many years.
How can you say that about me?
Sophia stubbornly tried to maintain her act, her eyes constantly drifting behind me. I was frustrated. How could she still have the nerve to flirt with my boyfriend at this point? Just then, James stepped out.
Emily, you weren't like this before.
He didn't blame me, but just that one sentence made me laugh out loud.
Before? How do you know what I was like before? Have you ever really understood me to say what I was like before?
3 years of unrequited love and countless grievances suddenly vanished in that moment. I saw this person clearly. No wonder, after 3 years, we were so close yet never quite made it. They say if you feel like everything around you is stopping you from doing something, it means the universe is saving you. At that moment, I felt truly saved.
Don't be angry, sister. In my heart, you're the best sister. If others can't see that, it's their loss.
A gentle voice came from behind me. Ethan looked at me with bright, encouraging eyes. I realized belatedly that my words earlier were indeed a bit too sharp. But, before saying those things, I instinctively knew he would support me. Now, the more important question was what to do next. Having torn the facade, could I still drive them away? Unexpectedly, Ethan directly called the person in charge of the place.
These 2 guests are no longer welcome at our estate. Triple compensation, and please ask them to leave now.
With a casual tone, the once gentle puppy suddenly exuded an inexplicable authority. But the problem was, the person in charge actually did as he said. Throughout the barbecue, I was in a state of confusion. Half of the members of the modeling club came from well-off families. Amid their teasing, I finally understood. Ethan was actually the youngest son of the richest family in our city. A true heir. I felt a bit overwhelmed, having grown up in an ordinary family. Knowing this made it hard for me to accept. I had always kept my distance from so-called heirs. But who would have thought that the boyfriend I just decided to take seriously was the very type I tried to avoid?
In my view, heirs would always look for girls from equally wealthy families. Dating was just a game for them. Should I break up with him?
Emily lay on her bed, feeling a mix of frustration and confusion. She had discovered Ethan's true background and felt overwhelmed by the revelation.
If I had known about his family from the start, I never would have fallen for him. Why didn't he tell me?
Suddenly, her roommate burst into the room, drenched from the rain outside.
Emily, weren't you worried sick about Ethan before? Now he's downstairs in this heavy rain, and you're not going to do anything?
What?
She jumped up and rushed to the balcony. Sure enough, Ethan was standing there, looking pitiful under the pouring rain, hunched over his phone.
Kids from wealthy families always come with trouble.
Grabbing an umbrella and a coat, she dashed downstairs. Ethan's eyes lit up when he saw her approaching.
Sis. It's pouring. Go home first. We can talk tomorrow.
No way. It's my fault for making you unhappy these past 2 days. Now that you've agreed to see me, I have to make you happy.
Seeing his half-soaked clothes, Emily's heart softened.
I'm not mad anymore. Just find a place to change your clothes. What if you catch a cold?
Sis, there's a place near the school where my family has an apartment. How about we go there?
Emily just wanted him to take a shower and change his clothes, so she agreed without hesitation. The next moment, Ethan wrapped her tightly in his coat and scooped her up before she could react.
Ethan, what are you doing?
Let's go.
He carried her and ran towards the school gate, as if they were heading towards a bright future together. Later, Emily found out that Ethan had secretly added her on WeChat and had harbored a crush on her for 3 years. He said that true love at first sight meant he had chosen her, and it would always be her.